I'm very excited, for this opportunity. Myself, Kumaresh and Prabha, we are from an organization, consulting organization called IBC. And what we do is we specialize in large scale transformations, agile digital transformations. And our basic goal would be to get the maximum value to customers in the shortest amount of time. And that's the goal, and that's and we do it through multiple ways and things. And I'm very excited to talk to you all specifically. But before that, would first like to start with a big thank you note to Dr. Ryan for giving us this opportunity. He has been championing this particular webinar to you all. So we're very excited and grateful to him and the university for Tennessee State University to host us on this. The second reason I'm happy is that you're all teachers. Myself and Kumaresh here, we both are teachers at heart. I come from 4 generations of teaching in my family. My dad is an economics professor. My mom is an economics professor, sisters, grandfather, great-grandfather. And I think most likely I would be teaching till I die, like my dad, who is my hero, and like my grandfather, and pretty much my heroes. And it's a very noble skill. The best thing that you can do as a gift to somebody is teach them a skill. And I'm very appreciative of all the noble work that you're going to do in future. And I'm excited to talk to you about it. And before I give it to Kumaresh, a little bit brief background about myself. I have a PhD in business administration, and I do a lot of work on these days and times. I'm doing a lot of research on work on artificial intelligence and machine learning, how it can be used to make all of our lives better, to manage. For example, in this use case, what we're going to talk is how to do time management better. But before I go into that segment, I would first, like to pass it back to Kumaresh, who is going to align you on many pieces as it applies to agility. And in 15 minutes time box, I'm going to give you a very quick overview of how artificial intelligence and machine learning can be used in time management on a day-to-day level. Then we will also reserve some time of 15 minutes for questions from you all. That's the way we are going to structure it. So again, we are very excited. Thank you, Dr. Ryan, for this opportunity, and we'll pass it back to Kumaresh. Go ahead, Kumaresh.
Thank you, Dr. Wiselin. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Dr. Ryan, for hosting this. As Wiselin mentioned, right, we both are teachers at heart, and we love to see the future teachers out here. So this session, I had to put a lot of thought in terms of how do we actually articulate these things in something that would actually relate to you. So time management, as you know, it's one of the most fundamental things that every human being needs, right? If we don't manage time well, then we are in trouble, right? So that's the key. And being professionals, we see this on a day-to-day basis with multiple companies throughout the world. Right now, as I speak, I'm currently with a company in Dubai. So I travel. I'm originally from Toronto in Canada. We do a lot of consulting in the US and right now in Dubai. So it's all over the place, right? So what we do helps things all over the world. So very excited to be here. Thank you again. Wiselin, do you have to say something or?
Oh, no, carry on. Take it away.
Right. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. So there are a few things. Just want to make sure everyone you're able to see my screen, right?
Yep, we can.
Okay. So as you know, my name is pretty long. Kumaresh Krishnamoorthy. It takes time. You can call me Kumar. You can call me KK. I love time management. Okay, it's a very important thing, and that is one of the reasons we said let's start with this keynote by Albert Einstein. Look at this, right? This quote from Einstein says it all. Time is really the only capital that any human has, and the only thing they can't afford to lose, right? So it's a very apt what you say, code in today's world, especially when things are changing so fast. And we need to try to catch up with a lot of things going around us, right? So many distractions are there for us. How do we manage time with all these distractions in today's world, right? It's more than ever before. So keeping these things in mind, why are we here? For this main reason, agile time management. We are going to talk about time management with a different flavor. We are going to talk about a flavor called agile, right? It's agility at its best. How you can manage time in this distracted world, right? And that's what we are going to talk about, agility at its best. You need to be agile to do multiple things around you. So flexible and efficient time management techniques for individuals and team members to be in control of your schedule, of scheduling your work time, right? So keeping this in mind, I want to start with understanding what are the challenges of not having time management in place, right? For that, I'm going to stop sharing and go to the polls, and wanted to request you to think, what are the challenges that you think, the top 3 challenges? So select the top 3 challenges. Can you see the poll?
Yeah, we can see it.
Perfect. It should be on your computer as well. If you have joined this session, you should be able to actually vote it. So what are the top 3 challenges that you see, or you can,
So we have a lot of people that are not in the Zoom poll, so we ask them to.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's see. So low motivation, raise your hand, you get 3 votes.
3 votes.
You want us to vote for this if we want to?
No, don't. Thank you. Too little time to complete work. Overbooking. 1. I need to do everything myself. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, procrastination. That's going to be a top one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Multitasking or task switching. And overstressing or no rest. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so not on Zoom, we have the following. For low motivation, 7. And for I need to do everything myself, 7 votes. And procrastination, 7. Those were the top 3 in the room here.
All right, I'll share the results from what we see here. Oops. All right, so look at this. 10 out of 10 for the last one, which is overstressing or no rest. 60% for procrastination, that is the second best. And then I need to do everything myself, 50%. So what is the issue here? When you say I need to do everything myself, okay, what is missing? Do you really have to do everything yourself? Anyone wants to just speak about this part? What does it mean?
So if you say something.
I feel like it depends on the situation of what you're working on.
So why would you think someone would say everything I have to do?
Like some people that, like when you work in a group, like group projects, like I'm thinking like specific to us, like if we work in group projects, some people are like a perfectionist or they want things done a certain way. And I'm one of them.
Wow. You said it right, perfectionist, right? So someone who feels that, you know what, I want to do it because I know how to do it. I trust myself, sometimes that is a big issue, right? They say that, you know what, if I do it, I'll do it right. And so is being a perfectionist, is that a good thing or a bad thing? What do you think?
It can be a bad thing. It can be both, but I think more times than not, it's kind of the harmful thing.
Right. See, being a perfectionist it's a good thing in a way, but don't you think being a perfectionist is a challenge as well, right? As you said correctly, it's a problem because sometimes we tend to spend more time on things that actually don't matter much, right? Because we want that quality, that you want the smallest of the things to be just right. And then you spend 90% of the time fixing that small thing, which actually doesn't matter, just because you're a perfectionist. So time management talks about these challenges. I'm glad that you selected all of them, right? So if I look at the poll again, okay, what is procrastination, and why do you think procrastination happens?
I think for me, it goes along with the stress a little bit. Like, I feel like I'm stressed about it. And I'm like, well, I'll just set it aside and do the different time when I'm less stressed. And then, like, it's a mixture of both. And then I'm still stressed when I have to do it later. So there's no reason to set it aside. But I feel like I go through that cycle a lot.
Procrastination is a big thing, right? We all go through procrastination, and human nature will love to procrastinate, isn't it? Right? When do we study for an exam? The night before, probably. When do we file our taxes? I should ask, the people who file the taxes. Actually, we file the taxes on the last day. We procrastinate till the time we cannot procrastinate anymore, right? So that's human nature. So how do you deal with procrastination is what we are going to talk about next, right? So that's something which is extremely important part of time management. What about the thing that nobody voted? Multitasking or task switching. Did anyone vote in the audience for that? Who was not in Zoom?
Let's see. I think was that the next to last answer.
Multitasking or task switching.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah. What next? Yeah, second last. That's true.
Maria, you want to say something about that?
Yeah. If I'm working on something and I start to get like overwhelmed by it, I switch over to something that's easier because it makes me feel like I'm accomplishing something, and like, I don't know. Because if I'm working on something that's difficult, I feel dumb, and I don't want to feel dumb. So I switch over to something that's less.
Right. You said it. Absolutely. There is something called stop starting and start stopping. Have you heard of this statement? Stop starting and start stopping. What does it mean is when you start something, make sure it is complete rather than getting distracted and starting something else, which is probably easier, or, maybe someone asked for it, right? So I always love this statement, stop starting and start stopping. So that is something which will help you move away from multitasking or task switching. So is multitasking a good thing?
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Yeah. Sometimes, if it is, right, we don't have to think much, we can do multitasking. For example, you're listening to music and cooking, right? That is kind of multitasking, but one of the senses is active at that time. But if it's a cognitive skill, then you cannot do multitasking, right? You cannot calculate a complex math problem and also drive a car. Can you do that? You cannot. You need to focus your mind at one thing. Either you can drive a car or you can calculate a complex mathematical problem, right? You cannot do both. So multitasking out there is a problem, or task switching out there is a problem. But non-cognitive, it's okay. So this is all fantastic. I'm glad all of you chose the ones which really make sense. Overstressing is the biggest issue of lack of time management, right? So just gonna stop sharing here, and I'll share back my presentation. Okay. So look at these things, right? This is what we were talking about. Low motivation, isn't it? That always happens because you cannot manage too many things. That will create motivational problems, right? oh my God, I'm not able to finish things. People are expecting me to do it, but I'm not able to do it, right? Even if I'm able to do it, I'm not able to do it with quality. So that is a low motivation, right? So that is an issue. Procrastination, we spoke about this. It's a big, big issue. Everyone has it. We need to deal with it. Too little time. We have so many things. We don't have time, right? Then we talk about attempted multitasking. We spoke about overbooking ourselves. We take up so much work for ourselves, and we are not able to do everything. So why do we take so much? Some people cannot say no. Sometimes there is a problem that people just cannot say no. If they say, okay, can you do this as well? They will just say, okay, I'll do it. Just to impress someone else, they will just take all the work that they can. And that's a problem. So they will just say, give me more, just to impress someone else. So that's a problem as well. And what else? Yeah, not enough rest, right? So we spoke about these things. And forgetting to delegate. This is what I was talking about. If you think we can do everything by ourselves, then what is delegation, right? We need to be, for time management, the key is delegate, right? We get stressed where we are not able to delegate, right? If there is something which is small enough for someone else to do it, you have to delegate that rather than doing it all by yourself. So this requires a very important keyword, which is called trust. You need to be able to trust someone who can do the small things on your behalf. And you don't have to oversee that person doing that work. So delegation is an important part of time management, right? So that you can focus on something which is more important for you. If you don't delegate, then you cannot do everything by yourself. So these are the things. Yeah, please go ahead.
So on the delegation, how many of you have been in the field and your teachers don't have anything for you to do? So these students often go out and work with teachers in the classroom. And some of the report, my teacher puts me to work and has good things for me to do. And then about half the students in here just raise their hand that they get to their field placement to do work. And the teacher has nothing for them to do. So that is, I know like in your classwork here, the delegation may sound like, well, how are you supposed to delegate your classwork? But in terms of how you do things in groups, like Ashton, you said, like you want to do it all yourself, even in the group work. But also when you become teachers, I mean, you're only a year and 3 months from having your own classroom. And then there will be people who are there to help. But this delegation will come in very handy there. So I'm glad that you have that on the list because that wasn't one of the options, but that's an interesting one, Kumaresh.
Right, absolutely, thanks. So it's important, right? I mean, all of you are going to deal with kids, and it's going to be a wonderful challenge for you to have, to try to understand. You cannot manage everyone together, so something has to be delegated to someone else. So it's an important aspect. Now we continue thinking of lack of organization. This is another problem of time management. These are some of the challenges. If you don't organize yourself well, then it will cause time management issues, right? Multiple distractions. If you have too many things, too many distractions, especially the phone is ringing, you're checking Instagram, right? We are writing an email. There are so many distractions in today's world. So that is going to cause time management for sure, 100%. And I'm going to talk about techniques to deal with those things, right? So first, let us understand the challenges, and then we will talk about the techniques to deal with this. Rigid planning. If you go with a plan which is too rigid, then, and if something has to change, then you get stressed saying that, oh my God, I already planned this for the next, say, 2 hours. And if a change is coming, how do I deal with it, right? So that is why if the planning is too rigid, it can cause a lot of stress with time. And then trouble prioritizing. I think this is one of the most important thing that needs to be done for managing time. Prioritize. How do you prioritize? That's a different question. So do you have any ideas or any thoughts on prioritization techniques that you use today?
How are we doing? Oh, tell them or say it.
You do it.
I don't remember what it is.
You told it to us.
Which one?
Like what's important.
Oh, yeah. Someone else say it.
Remember.
Apparently, I told them something that applies exactly to that, but they can't all remember what I said.
And you can.
I remember it now. I'll say it. I said that in all of life, you have to everything that comes to you is presented as something that you have to receive this way. It either has to be done or it has to be done well. And if you can figure out the difference between those two, your life will be much easier.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Absolutely, I agree fully. Thank you. It's amazing. Prioritization, there are techniques, right? There are ways. I'll talk about those techniques. I'll talk about certain anti-patterns, and also we'll talk about certain actual ways of prioritizing. You know, this is going to be really important for you in your life, right? How do you prioritize well? And then, of course, perfectionism. This is what we were speaking about, right? We were talking about being too perfect on a lot of things. It's not a good thing. So it's okay to have good quality, but you don't want to focus on small things just because you have that perfectionism in you. So have a balance between the two. All right. Now we spoke about procrastination, right? So let's do one more poll on the topic of procrastination. Why do we procrastinate? I think this is a very important topic because everyone procrastinates, and we need to understand the reasons why we procrastinate and how can we resolve this, right? How can we deal with it? So I'm going to stop sharing here and start the poll again. There you go. Okay, again, choose the top 3. And see the polls, I believe, whoever has logged in.
How many people do you have logged in there? 4 people?
It says 14.
It says 14, yeah.
11 altogether.
14 minus 4, so 10.
Okay, so if you're on Zoom, go ahead and vote there, and I'll take the vote in here in just a second.
Again, top 3. What are the key reasons for procrastination?
Okay, so we have no clarity, no clear direction, everything's important or unimportant, unrealistic demands, multiple distractions, no deadline, too many things on your plate, what's in it for me, lack of trust, no recognition or reward. So give us just a minute to think about that.
We procrastinate or we delay our decisions or delay the work because of these reasons, right? This is practically what happens to most. That's one of the reasons I just wanted to call it out.
Okay, hang on 1 second. So let's see. You get 3 votes. So if you already voted online, don't vote. No clarity. 1. No clear direction. Everything is important or unimportant. Unrealistic demands. Multi-distractions. Okay. That multiple distractions.
Yes.
No deadline. Too many things. What's in it for me? Lack of trust. And no recognition or reward. Okay. All right, so to add to your list there, Kumaresh, we have 6 for no clarity, 7 for everything is important or unimportant, 9 for multi-distractions, 1 for no deadline, 5 for too many things, 1 for lack of trust, and 1 for no recognition or reward. So in the room, the top 3 were not in the room, not on Zoom, were multi-distractions, everything's important, and then no clarity and too many things were very close for a tie there.
Perfect. Okay, and this is the results from Zoom. I just shared it right now. So this is what too many things on your plate, right? So 10 out of 10 got 100% vote out there. So that's why we procrastinate, because we have too many things on our plate. Absolutely right. The second winner is everything is important, and that's why you don't know which one you want to start, or everything is unimportant. That's why you just delay things, right? Sometimes, right? That happens quite a bit. Multiple distractions, yes. There is always something which is more important than what you're doing right now. So that's always a distraction. So that's why you procrastinate on the work that you're doing currently. So that's a big issue as well, right? So the second one is no clear direction, right? So, okay, let's talk about the first one. No clarity on the goal. What does it mean? So let me share the screen here, just a second. So look at this. No clarity on the goal, which means a lot of times what happens is we tend to procrastinate because we don't know why we are doing it. And we don't understand the goal or the vision or the objective. There are two things in today's world. We speak about motivation. How do we motivate ourselves, right? So there are 2 types of motivation. One is called extrinsic motivation, and the other is called intrinsic motivation. So can someone tell me what is the difference? What do you think is the difference between extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation? It's okay to be wrong, right? So don't worry about giving the right answers. That is your perspective.
You got a good answer.
Is it like tangible versus like something in your head? Like a coffee, but then on the other hand, one would be like praise from somebody or something like that.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said. Exactly. That's the key. Extrinsic motivation means, right? For example, oh, if you do this, you'll get a bonus, right? That's an extrinsic motivation. If you do this, you'll get a promotion. If you do this, you'll get a vacation to Hawaii, So these things are extrinsic motivation. So we need, extrinsic motivation is important, yes, but it can become tricky, right? People, if you start giving extrinsic motivation and only extrinsic motivation, next time, if you ask people to do something, they will expect something in return, isn't it? They will say, unless you do this, I'm not going to, unless you give me a reward, I'm not going to do this, because it has become a habit now, right? Same with kids. If you say that, oh, kids, please brush your teeth. If you brush your teeth, I'll give you a chocolate. Then they will brush, right? So next time, if you don't give a chocolate, they're not going to brush their teeth, right? So this is an important part of extrinsic motivation and challenges of extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is something that they want to do from within. They do it because they feel it is important. They do it because it makes sense. That's intrinsic motivation, right? So there are again ways to build intrinsic motivation, and this is very important for children, right? How do we help them build that intrinsic motivation? They want to do it because it makes sense, right? So there are 3 things. There is a beautiful book on this thing called Drive, D-R-I-V-E, Drive, by Daniel Pink. It's a must-read book. It's called Drive by Daniel Pink, and he talks about 3 things to help build intrinsic motivation. First one is called autonomy. Autonomy means give people a chance to try by themselves and let them fail. It's okay. It's okay to fail. They will learn from it and they will try again. That will build confidence, right? So that is autonomy. The second is mastery. People who want to do better and get better at what they're doing. So give a chance for them to learn and an opportunity to learn from others or books. So that is mastery. Get better at what you're doing. And the third is purpose. And that's what I wanted to bring it here. Purpose. Everyone needs to understand a clear purpose. If you don't know what the purpose of your work is, then you won't be intrinsically motivated to do the work. And that is what vision is. That is what goal is. That is what objective is. So without purpose, then you don't enjoy doing the work. So it's a very important part of building your goals. Then the purpose itself will drive you to doing the work well, right? That is why you need a vision for sure. The second is no clear direction. Means, okay, you understand the goal, you understand what needs to be done, but you don't know how to do it. So we procrastinate. Because we don't know how to do it, we say, you know what, how much can I Google, right? In today's world, everything, Google knows everything. Chat GPT knows everything. So, but is that how we want to do things? So that's why sometimes not knowing how to do it creates procrastination. So we need to ask people how to deal with that. Ask people. It's okay. It's okay to ask questions. So there was, I think it was Steve Jobs, right? There was an interview with Steve Jobs, and he said, if one thing everyone wants to do on how to become really successful in life is don't shy away from asking people, right? If you have a question in mind, just pick up the phone, ask, and people will help you out. That's the key thing. It's an actual interview with Steve Jobs, and that's how he also grew, right? That was his motivation to do. All right. The next is everything is important, which means priority is not set. That is always the thing that we already discussed. Unrealistic demands, right? Sometimes people will say, you know what, everything is important. Let's do it right now. So the unrealistic demands, the scope is not very clear, and it is ambiguous. The schedule, they will say that, oh, you know, in the corporate world, there is a joke. We say that client wants everything yesterday, right? Client wants everything yesterday. That's the problem, right? Client will say that, you know what, I want everything right away. So that is what unrealistic schedule is all about. That's a big problem. Cost, quality, resources, all these things are unrealistic demands. So that will sometimes becomes an issue. Multiple distractions we already spoke about. Not understanding the why, the purpose, that creates an issue. No deadline. Okay, a lot of people didn't vote for there is no deadline, you know, in the poll. But if you ask me personally, I procrastinate. I'm telling you my personal story. I procrastinate when there is no deadline. And that's a fact, right? And many people, that's the problem. That's why I asked, when do we study for an exam, right? The night before, because now there is a deadline. If, you know, you don't start studying 1 year before or 6 months before. When there is a deadline, then you need to, you know, study more. So that is why if there is a deadline, it helps you deal with things faster. Too many things on my plate. We spoke about that. What's in it for me? A lot of times people say that, okay, you want me to do this? Fine. But what's in it for me? Why should I do it? Right? So the motivation is not there for them to do it. That's why the what's in it for me is there. Lack of trust. Again, we spoke about delegation, right? Someone will always change it after the work is done. So you do the work and you submit it to someone, but that person will say, you know what, thank you for doing the work, but this is not right, this is not right, this is not right. And then they will change everything. And then you're like, oh my God, why did I spend so much time doing it, right? So the person who is evaluating, rather than being a critic, that person can be a mentor, can be a coach, help the person grow. Even if there are mistakes, it's okay. So that is the kind of thought process which is required. And then there's no recognition or reward, right? You do all the work and then people will say, okay, thank you very much. And then you start. But the recognition is very important. Even if there is no reward, physical reward like cash prize or doesn't matter. But if you praise someone in front of 10 other people, recognize someone's effort in front of 10 other people, that's the best motivation. intrinsic motivation that comes in. So these are the key things, right? Now, let's talk about, okay, any questions so far? Does it make sense?
Hang on a second. Let's see. You guys have a question? You have a lot of issues with the trust one with your coursework in college. You have a lot of things that get changed on you.
Not with these people, no.
Not with-
Before, yeah, but
Yeah,
with
the
this
other
group,
class.
no.
Okay, very good.
Mhm.
So, trust is a very, very important factor. If the trust is built, it takes time, but once it is built, then things go very fast, especially with the delegation and all those things, right? So that's an important aspect. Now let's talk about this keyword, agile, right? Agile is a buzzword which is going on in the industry like wildfire. It's a very important term in the industry today. So what exactly is agile way of doing things, right? So agile methodology, it's a methodology, means it's a way of working. It's a way of doing things. So agile methodology is a way to manage work by using various techniques, which helps overcome delay, stay focused, and delivery of true value to the stakeholders, right? It could be anyone. Agile practices include requirements, discovery, and solution improvements through collaborative effort of self-organizing, self-managing, cross-functional, high-performing, awesome teams with their customers and the users. So the idea is, it's a technique, it's a way of working in a collaborative way, a collaborative fashion, right? Where we don't have to tell people every time what to do. You do this, you do this, you do this. Let them figure it out, right? And while they are figuring it out, they will make mistakes. It's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. We are humans, not robots, right? I mean, as of now, robots are coming for us soon, but that's the world we are in right now. So it's okay to make mistakes. So some people say, fail fast. That's the agile way of thinking, but I don't like the word fail. It's a negative word for me. So I would, rather than using, say, the word fail fast, I would rather use learn fast, right? So it's okay to take a chance, take chances, make mistakes. Oh my God, what was the third one? Have you seen, which was that? The Magic School Bus. Anyone a fan of the Magic School Bus?
Take chances, make mistakes, and get dirty.
Get dirty. Thank you. There you go. Miss Frizzle. Miss Frizzle says it. I love that, actually. So you are all going to teach kids. I would highly recommend you to watch the Magic School Bus. 100%. My favorite. All right. So, okay. So that's the thing. So what are the key features of Agile methodology, right? So this is what we were talking about. First one is adaptive planning. We will talk about this later on. Maybe we will have one more session later if needed to talk about Agile in detail. I'm not going to do a deep dive into Agile itself, but just wanted to give you some key highlights of the Agile way of doing things. Evolutionary development, right? You keep evolving, you keep learning, you keep growing. That's what we call it, evolutionary development. Early delivery. So a lot of times what happens is we tend to do a lot of documentation, and we think that these documentations are actually going to help the stakeholders achieve whatever value we are looking for. But documentation is not enough. What we want to actually deliver is the actual working system, right? Even that if the working system is half-baked, it's okay. You need to do some trials. We need to make sure the stakeholders look at the actual working system and then give feedback. Feedback makes your product succeed. If you don't have actual customer feedback, then we are just making a wild guess of what the customer is looking for, especially in today's world, right? We are in the digital world where things change with a click of a button, isn't it? So if we don't understand customers, if we don't get the feedback of the customers fast enough, then we might be too late to delivering actual value to the customers, isn't it? So that is why early delivery of value is very important. Early delivery of value, all right? Continuous improvement. We want to, there is a concept called, my 4 fingers and I do this. Look at my 4 fingers and I do this, right? The magic. The magic of what? The magic of PDCA. PDCA. It is called plan, do, check, adjust. It's a learning cycle. The PDCA cycle is called the learning cycle. Plan, do, check, adjust, which means we plan the work, we do the work, we check the work, and then we adjust, which means we do retrospective. We learn from it. So this cycle of PDCA, the idea is the shorter the cycle, the faster the learning. The shorter the cycle, the faster the learning. So it's important to understand what is PDCA. And we will briefly talk about those things. Flexible responses to changes, capacity, and the problems to be solved. And finally, building trust. So these are the key features of Agile way of doing things. Right? How flexible can you be? That is the idea, right? Again, I just wanted to give you as a feeler of this concept of Agile. Don't get too confused if you're like not sure what's Agile. If you're still confused, it's okay. I just want to make sure you're aware of this term and what are the key features of these things. And then this is too much text. I'm not going to read through this. You can read it later on. We will share this presentation to you, but you can read this all later at your time. But through Agile time management, right? This is the idea. Time management using Agile. What are the key outcomes? Why should we do this? We should always ask that question to ourselves. Why should we use Agile for time management? What are the benefits? So these are the benefits. Look at this, right? These are the key learning outcomes. The Agile way of doing things will help you with your time management. The challenges that we just saw through our polls, these are the key things that will help us achieve through Agile time management. Prioritizing, alignment, transparency, focused time box, visualize, definition of done at every stage, and built-in quality. All right. So these are the key outcomes if we use the Agile way of doing things, right? The mind has to be agile. The techniques are always there, but unless you transform your way of thinking, nothing is going to work. Doesn't matter what techniques are there, but the first transformation has to happen in your mind, right? How you make yourself flexible enough and have the discipline of Agile. So let's talk about a couple of things. Let's talk about the first one, which is prioritization. Now, again, prioritization, it's a very important quote again here. There is never enough time to do everything, but there is always enough time to do the most important thing. Isn't it? Don't you agree with the statement? So how do we prioritize? So let's talk about first the anti-patterns. These are the 3 anti-patterns. First one is called the squeaky wheel. Have you heard this before? The squeaky wheel gets the grease. The child who cries the most gets the milk. And there is, in the corporate world, there is a statement saying that the person who shouts the most gets their work done first. That's what happens in the corporate world, to be very honest. If there is a person who's too demanding, and that person is going to create all the problems in your life, then of course, the work related to that person will automatically become high priority, isn't it? That's an anti-pattern. The second anti-pattern is called HIPPO. It's an acronym, HIPPO. HIPPO stands for highest paid person gets their work done first. Doesn't matter what the work is. What matters is who gave you the work, right? The work may not be important, but the person who gave you the work is important. That the work automatically becomes important. That's also an anti-pattern. That's not how it should be done. The third anti-pattern is ROI, which is return on investments, right? Again, some people use this as a way to prioritize their work, but no, that's not how it should be done. So if these are the anti-patterns, what should be the options, right? So this is what it is, right? These are some of the best practices to prioritize the work. The first one is called Moscow technique. MOSCOW, which stands for must have, should have, could have, and won't have. So if you have a list of items that needs to be done, and you're not able to make up your mind which one needs to be done first, try to put it in these boxes. What are the things which should be under must have? What does must have mean is that without this, it is going to be a disaster. So those things will go in as a must have. You cannot avoid them at all at any cost, right? So in the corporate world, we say that the business will shut down. If you don't do those things, the business will shut down, literally. So those things will become your must-haves. Should-haves means those things because of which the business will not shut down, but they will not work efficiently, right? Those becomes your should-haves. The work will still go on, the company will still run, but it won't be efficient. So those becomes your should-have. Could-have means nice to have. It is not going to provide any immediate value right now, but it is nice to have. If you want to impress the customers with something extra, those things becomes nice to have. And the last is won't have, which means it is out of scope. Don't do it right now. It can wait. So if you just categorize them into these boxes, it becomes easier for you to think about these. Then I'm not going to go into all these details. Don't worry right now. I mean, I just wanted to call it out. There is something called weighted shortest job first, which means something which is high priority, but which can be done fast. This is called, the lowest hanging fruit. That's the idea. Something which is a lot of value, but more importantly, it can be done fast, early. It doesn't take too long to do it. That needs to be done first. So those are two parameters we always look at, right? High priority and can be done with less effort. These two parameters will help you with WSJF. Weighted means a lot of weight, a lot of value. Shortest job, which means less time. That should be done first. The third one is Kano model. You can Google these things, right? I'm just giving you some ideas right now. Gauge your customer satisfaction, right? So that is your Kano model. It's a very interesting way. And the last one is called RISE, which is when you do the work, what is the reach? What is the impact? What is the confidence of completing the work, and how much effort will it take for you to do it? So this is called RICE, sorry, not reach, RICE, RICE. Reach, impact, confidence, and effort. So these are some of the best practices, which is there in today's world. You can actually use this. All right, so we got about 15 minutes before I pass it on. But I want to make sure we understand few important things. All right. The first thing is called time boxing. Take it from me. This is the most important thing for you for your time management. Time box. Work. Look at this quote. I wanted to make sure you understand this quote. Work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. If you think something is going to take 2 hours, then it will take 2 hours. And if you think the same thing is going to take 2 days, then it will take 2 days. The same work. Somehow the work expands. right? Have you realized that?
Let me ask the class for a second. So remember when we did, well, which project was it where I made you tell me how many hours it would take you?
Major project, remediation plan.
Yeah, and major project 3. So most of the answers were like 3 or 4 hours. Who spent more than that?
To find our references.
Yeah.
And anybody stay within it? Okay, so it's about half and half. The people, I made them do a time box. I didn't know that was a name for it, but we had a major project due, and I asked them how long it would take. I gave them a short deadline on it, and so about half were able to stay within the time frame, and then others went beyond it. So next time.
No, time boxing doesn't mean it's a very important thing. Thanks, Dr. Ryan. So time boxing doesn't mean you need to finish within that time. I mean, of course, ideally you have to, but it means that it is focused time. There are no other distractions. That's the key. If you take up something, keep a time box for yourself and just focus for that particular time, right? Try to complete the work. Of course, you need to be realistic with the time box so that you know this work is going to take 2 days. It's going to take 2 hours. The person who's actually doing the work is the best person to tell how long it's going to take, right? But if you keeping that, you focus your, complete focus on that work without any distractions, then you will know how long it's actually going to take, right? So that is what time boxing is all about. There are beautiful techniques. I'm telling you, this is going to work like magic. If there is some magic about time management, it is time boxing, right? So first is find suitable tasks. These are the steps for time boxing techniques, right? The first step is find suitable tasks, then define your goals, then set the time. The goal setting is very important. Defining your goal is very important, right? When do you say the work is done? This is called the definition of done. It's very important. I'll give you an analogy. Say if I have to do the dishes, right? If the dishwasher is not working, guess who is the dishwasher? That's me. Yeah. So if I'm the dishwasher, I start doing the dishes, I do it my way and then keep it out there, and my wife comes and looks at the dishwasher. Is she going to be happy? Of course not. I didn't do based on her definition of done, which means make sure you rinse, then you put the soap, again rinse properly, right? And then dry it and then keep it at its place. This is your definition of done. I cannot just wash it and randomly keep it somewhere and say that the dishes are done. So understanding the definition of done is very important, right? So define your goals, understand the definition of done, set the time, and then work and assess your results at the end of the time box. And then claim the reward. Maybe you were able to finish it within the time box because you were focused doing only that thing and nothing else, right? If not, it's okay. If you're not able to finish that work within that time box, it's okay, because you're going to learn and improve. And that time box is going to help you learn and improve. PDCA, if you remember the cycle, learning cycle, PDCA, plan, do, check, adjust. The last one is called adjust, which means you learn, you make adjustments, and then you try again. The next time box. So every time box is a short learning cycle. And the learning cycle, you can define, should it be 2 days? Should it be 2 weeks, right? Whatever it is, but try to be consistent with your time box, keeping the number of items. Usually what I like to do is, I say in the next 1 week, what are the items that I would like to finish within my scope, right? So I would pull the work from what we call it, the list of work, we call it the backlog. The list of work, I prioritize it, and I will start pulling the work from the top because it is prioritized. And I would think that, you know what, if I'm an individual, I would try to say that, okay, maybe the top 4 things I can do in the next 1 week. Nobody's asking me to do it. I am pulling the work, I am committing to it. So if I commit to it myself, then the probability of me finishing is very high. because I chose it myself. Nobody asked me to do it, and pushed it on me. The other option is, if you are not alone, you have a team, then you discuss with the team to understand as a team how much we can do in the next 1 week. That becomes your time box, and that becomes your commitment. As a team, you decide, and then complete the work in that particular time box. And if you're not able to do it, no problem. There is always learn and improve. And the next, after this 1 week, the next 1 week, you try to learn. Why were we not able to complete it? Right? Oh, because we got distracted with something else. Okay, next time we make sure that we don't get distracted. So it's a learning cycle. That's what it is called, a learning cycle. We learn, we improve, and then you proceed. So these are the key things. And there is something called Scrum. I'm not going to go into the details of Scrum, but this is an actual agile framework which helps you with your PDCA cycle, where you take the information from your stakeholders, put it in a backlog, prioritize it out there, and then there is a person who is responsible for prioritizing the work. That person is called product owner. Then there is a team. This team will discuss with the product owner to understand what is the priority of work, and then they will decide on how much they can actually do in that particular time box. And that is called a planning meeting, right? And then the team will break it into smaller tasks, and then they will decide, okay, this is what we can do in the next time box. This time box could be 1 week to 4 weeks. Don't keep a big time box like 1 month and all those things. That is too long. Your time box has to be small. Smaller the cycle, faster the learning. That is the time box. And then we talk about the team should discuss on a regular basis to understand, are we on track to meeting our deadlines, our meeting our goals, right? This is called the daily meeting. The teams, it is just 10 minutes, 15 minutes maximum. That's it. And then after the work is done for the whole 1 week or 4 weeks, whatever is the duration, then the work is finished and delivered. And then someone will review the work saying that, okay, what did you promise and how much did you deliver? There is something called a review meeting. And then based on the review, there is something called a retrospective. All right. Retrospective means you learn from it. And then you, in the next time box, you use those learnings and improve from there. So this is the Scrum process, right? Again, you don't have to go too deep into it right now, but I just want to say that there is a method to the madness. And the next is called, all right, hold on. This is Scrum Master, that's okay. Then there are charts now. All right, the next one is Kanban, my favorite, to be very honest. Kanban, have you heard of this term, Kanban, anyone?
No, but I've been looking forward to hearing about this one. Is this one? I don't know.
So maybe I'll borrow some of your time to explain this.
No way.
All right. So Kanban. Okay, by the way, does it sound English to you?
No.
No, it is not. Any guesses what language it is?
Japanese.
Japanese. Some say Kanban, some say Kanban. Doesn't matter how you pronounce it, right? It's Japanese, right? Kanban or Kanban, it means visual card. Human beings, right? We are all humans and we love to visualize. Picture speaks louder than words. We know that. So how can you visualize your work to make it really effective? So I'm going to take you through a quick journey of Kanban, how to do it, right? So look at this. This is Kanban. Now, Kanban has different stages. When your work is not started, then it has to go into development, then testing, and then finally it gets accepted. So there are multiple stages of the work. Keeping the definition of done in mind, you need to understand what are the different stages of the work that has to go through before it is done and accepted, right? Now, when you look at this Kanban, can you tell how the team is doing? Are they ahead? Are they behind schedule? Any idea, any guesses? What can you conclude by looking at this?
Do you think?
Think I'm
Are they ahead of schedule? Are they behind?
Hold on a second. So imagine that this is all your courses this semester and all the projects that are due. Here's your sticky notes to show me where you're at.
This is the starting point.
How many of you not started? Of course, we're at the end of the semester, so hopefully where are all those stickers?
Where they have it, which means like if you're in the semester, if they're ahead or behind.
So let's when we're watching this, I want you thinking about the fall semester. What have you heard about residency 1 fall semester? What have you heard? It's the hardest and you want to cry.
At TPN.
Right? So here's this. Okay, so next semester hasn't started yet, and you're going to have this 4-column list. Everything will start where?
Not
started. 3 weeks into September, where will some things be?
Development.
Will there be anything over to the very far?
I maybe don't know.
Would it help?
Yes.
Oh, so see, now you start thinking about your time box.
Maybe.
Okay, so if you don't have a schedule laid out and a plan for when you're going to do certain things, where does everything stay?
Not started.
Or
Development.
and then all of a sudden, what happens in terms of what we talked about earlier was you've been procrastinating as an individual or as a group. And so where would it be? What would it look like for something to be in the test column?
Or like a checkpoint.
A checkpoint, or you submit something. And how would you know if it's in the last column?
Grade back.
You get your grade back. So if you start thinking about your semester and have everything laid out in terms of this visualization, that's what this whole process is that you visualize your work. And we talk about this with math teaching all the time. Kids can't do base 10 concepts in their brain. We have base 10 blocks to model it. You can't do Res 1 fall semester if you just keep it all in your head. You have to, this theory says you would visualize your work. So you would think about where you would have these things and how you should move them along and use this to plan your time. Okay, I think they've got an idea of how this might apply now, KK.
Perfect. Yeah. So let me explain a bit more. Thanks for that. So now look at this, right? When we look at the stages of work, the work is moving from first stage, second stage, finally it is done, right? So it goes through a journey. Every work, every task goes through a journey till it is actually completed, isn't it? So the important thing in Kanban is to recognize the stages. In your world, you have to call out the different stages from when it is not started, from when it is done, keeping the definition of done in mind. Now, when you look at this as is, it's very difficult for you to say, right? I don't know if you're ahead of schedule, if you're behind schedule, you're not sure, because probably you're making too many assumptions. But if I do this, right, and I put a time box, as Dr. Ryan said, you put a time box and I say, today is probably start of Thursday. So, which means you have a time box from Wednesday to Tuesday, 2 weeks of time box. You have to finish all the work by Tuesday, and today is already Thursday. Now tell me, are you ahead or behind? What do you think?
Behind.
You're behind, isn't it? Because you just have 4 more days to go, which is Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, and so many work are still in development. And some of the work has not even started, isn't it? So how amazing would it be for you to visualize the work in this way, keeping your time box in mind? So this is the magic. The first magic I said is time box. The second magic is visualizing the flow of work within the time box. Right? So let me quickly explain how Kanban works by drawing it out, right? By the way, I love Kanban so much that I use Kanban at home. So you would have seen on TV, they say, please don't try this at home. I would say, please try this at home. So this is what Kanban looks like. So first thing, you can see my whiteboard, right? Can you see the whiteboard?
Yeah, we can see it.
What color is it?
It's white.
Of course. Okay. All right. So you have some boxes, or some stages, as I said. Build the stages. It's very important to build the stages. Oops. All right. So the first stage, I would say, it is to do. I mean, these are the work that needs to be done. So it's a to-do list. And then here, I would say dev. I mean, because I'm in IT, I'm just calling it out as development. For you, you can make it up for whatever it is, test in this case, which is in your case, it is check, right? And then lastly, it is done. Whatever done means to you, that could be here as well, right? So these are the stages. Now, what I'm going to do is going to quickly make some tasks, the work items that I need to do. These work items need to be small enough, right? But there can be different categories of work, right? Some could be related to your personal life. Some could be related to education. Your career. So some could be personal, some could be career, some could be something else, right? So you can have different categories of work. So that's why I'm just doing color coding. Color coding is very important to visualizing your work, because you cannot mix all types of work together as the same category. So always try to visualize it with color coding and try to use this. So I'm just putting more of these sticky notes. So we call these sticky notes, virtual sticky notes, right? Now, just let's say, Wiselin is in dev. So I am the person, for example, I am the person who has put the list of items to be done, okay? So I'm the boss, for example, right? Wiselin is the boss, but then I'm just making it up right now. So now, if I'm the boss, I would just say, right, pull this and move this to dev, the person who is doing the work. For example, Dr. Wiselin is doing it. So what does this tell you? What does this mean? Okay. What does this say in a very visual way? What can you conclude by looking at this? Anyone?
That you started one of the work, or someone started for you.
Right. So Wiselin is working on 4 items, isn't it? 3 of them are one category, 1 item is a different category, right? But the first thing what I did is wrong. As the person who is actually creating the work, what I just did is wrong. I pushed work to Wiselin. Did you notice that? I pushed work to Wiselin. Did I even ask him? I didn't ask him if you can actually do it. I just pushed the work. So first rule of Kanban is not a push system, it's a pull system. That's a very, very important statement. Kanban is a pull system, it's not a push system, which means I cannot push work. As a person, as a stakeholder, what I can do is help prioritize the work, which means this one goes here, this one goes here, this one goes here. That's it. I can just prioritize and keep it out there. Now, who has to pull it?
Dr. Wiselin.
Exactly, right? Because he's the one who is going to do the work. So he has to pull the work based on 2 keywords, based on his capability and capacity. Based on his capability and capacity, he will pull how much he thinks he can do. But Wiselin wants to impress the boss. So what will he do?
Oh.
Enough? Maybe one more?
The
boss is impressed for sure. But is this a problem?
A big problem.
Why? What did we learn?
That's too much.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
That's too much on his plate to complete.
And that will cause what? Too much work causes
Burnout.
Burnout, that is one. What else?
Stress.
Stress, great. But what is that what is that? Multitasking or task switching. Remember those two keywords, multitasking and task switching. What did I say? Stop starting and start stopping. But if you have too many things in your plate, what will you do? Maybe he will start working on this one, and then he will not finish it. He will get distracted. He will start this one, and then he will start with one. He will go back here. He'll go back here. Then he will go here. So he's starting too many things. But is he completing any of this?
Yeah.
So he's working really hard. But that hard work, is it seen as value delivered?
No.
No. So that's a big problem. So pulling too many things on your plate creates task switching. And task switching is a big problem for time management. Right? You cannot manage time because of task switching. It's a huge issue. Now, how do you control it? Yeah. So how do you control this, right? So there is a temptation for Wiselin to pull so many items just to impress the boss. But that's not a good thing. So how do you control it? There is something called WIP limit. WIP, W-I-P. WIP stands for work in progress. So there is a limit to work in progress. That is called the WIP limit. Now I would put the WIP limit as 3, for example. All right, which means I have one item, I have two, oops. Pull one more, pull one more, pull one more. Can I pull one more?
No.
No, because the WIP limit of 3 has reached, which means I cannot pull more. That's the power of Kanban. You can actually set your WIP limits. It will control the number of items in your plate. It's very powerful. All right. So this is simple, right? It is not rocket science. It is simple to actually implement. You just need at home, you just need a wall, a couple of sticky notes. That's it, right? You can actually do this very simply. All right. So this is the first part, but the challenge is not done yet. Now look at this, right? So now he will finish the work and Wiselin will move it to the testing team. Correct?
Yeah. Right. No. It can't be moving. Say it again.
Not everything's done.
No, maybe this work is done, but can Wiselin move it to testing team?
No, but you, the boss, has to move it.
Exactly. It's not a push system, it's a pull system, right? Wiselin cannot move this here. So, but how will the testing team know if he has finished the work or not for them to start testing, right? So they'll have to ask Wiselin, did you finish it? Did you finish it? Did you finish it? And then he will get irritated saying that, oh, don't bother me, right? So you don't want that kind of a scenario. So how do we create automation through visualization, right? So look at this. This is what we do. So instead of having only one column, we do this. We create a buffer column and we call this done. But is the work really done?
No.
No, it's not done till it is done. You understand? It is not done till it is done, which means keeping the definition of done in mind. So instead of calling it done, I would rather call it ready for test. Psychology, it's all about psychology. Psychologically, if you say done, then dev team will say, oh, my work is done. I can go to Hawaii. But your work is not done till it is done. So you cannot go to Hawaii. So that is the idea. So the thing is, it is called ready for test. So now dev, which means Wiselin, will move this to ready for test because this is in his own bucket. So he can move it out there. All right. Immediately the testing team will see this. Oh, there is something for us to pull. Right. Now they will pull the work, keeping their capability and capacity in mind. They will pull the work. How cool is that?
That is
Very cool. You should present this to colleges.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think about like, how can we do this? Because I would be pulling it to the, instead of you submitting it to the Dropbox,
Discussion board.
I would pull it, I would like have to do the thing that drew it into the Dropbox. I'd open the Dropbox only like on the day it's due. And then if I knew that you were already pull it.
I think it'd be good to show teachers because of the whole to-do list. Obviously, we can't all work at so many things at once. If you present that to college professors, get a lot less stress, a lot less, because we have 20 assignments too.
Right.
So just to add one more factor to this one, right? Look at this, right? And this, you can create swim lanes. Have you heard of the term swim lanes?
No.
Like swimming, right? There are lanes, isn't it? That's the same. The idea is the same. So you create swim lanes, which means the swim lane on the top could be a standard swim lane, but not everything is of the same value, isn't it? Sometimes you get something which is critical. Oh, you need to do it right away. It's critical for you. So we say this is so there is a critical swim lane. And then there is something called fixed date. If there is a deadline, which is coming up in the near future, there is a milestone, something like that. You can create a fixed, you can create a swim lane called fixed date as well. So now, for example, this is, oh, you know what? Sorry, it is not called critical. It is called expedite. I'll use the actual term which is used in Kanban, right? So we use expedite lane, which means if something is really of very, very high importance, high severity, right? High risk that needs to be dealt with right away, then you can actually put it in expedite lane. As soon as something is in expedite lane, even if, for example, Wiselin has 3 items in his plate, so in his WIP limit has reached. But if there is something in expedite lane, this is an exception, which means this item can still be pulled because it's an expedite lane, but this has a WIP limit of 1, which means Wiselin will focus on this. He will finish this part and then move to ready for test. As soon as testing team looks at this being on ready for test, they will pull this as high priority. They will test this first and then move to done. So this expedite lane, again, it's all about how it's visualization, right? It makes it so easy for anyone to look at your board. This is called the Kanban board. For anyone to look at your board and immediately understand what's going on. So it's really wonderful thing to actually do.
Can we take a minute to talk?
Yep.
So let's think for a minute. You've turned in stuff to your professors this semester, including me. And has everybody got, like, did any of your professors grade their stuff like the next day?
No.
None of them? Okay, usually I do, but this semester I'm planning. Okay, so the question is, how would it deal with your procrastination if you had an initial deadline of when things were due, but then before, like the lateness of it would depend on when the professor got to it?
I feel like that would help a lot because some professors, it takes them like 2 weeks to a month to even begin grading. But I feel like what you do helps a lot with procrastination, like the checkings. That helps a lot with the procrastination.
Okay, let me stand up here so I can point at this. So I've run the class before with no deadlines on assignments. That does not help a lot of people.
I would fail.
But if I had due dates like I do, and when this became open, like the date was done, the equivalent of me pulling it would be that you go ahead and move it for me from RFT to here into the Dropbox. But the deadline wouldn't count against you. How would it be so that if you were a few days late, if I hadn't gotten to it, there would be no penalty? But if I get to it the very next day, then there's a penalty on the deadline. That way you would have a little bit of pressure to meet your late deadline, but it wouldn't be a penalty because I wasn't ready for it anyway.
I mean, I feel like that's sort of like the lesson plan. Like if I came in, like, you know, how I missed class and I was so stressed because I couldn't get your feedback. Like, I mean, I didn't have it done, but I had enough done for you to like create soft deadline, check it. Yeah. Like, you know, I was like, I got it done so you can check it.
Yeah.
At a certain point, even though I didn't have the whole thing finished.
Okay.
Yeah. I also think though, like, I have to have deadlines to like do it. So if there's like a soft deadline, a hard deadline, all that stuff, I just wouldn't turn it. I would not turn it in during soft deadline because I need an actual deadline. So I feel like that would almost like
it could like feedback window instead.
Yeah.
Like that way, it's like, okay, well, I've looked and you know, 3 out of 4 of them have it submitted. So I'm gonna do like a brief scan, but it's still not the hard cutoff. So while you're not like sitting through and like with a fine-tooth comb grading it, just kind of giving feedback, hey, this looks good, but because they took the effort to get it in before the hard deadline.
And Abigail, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, I think the checkpoints are helpful.
Yeah, if the checkpoints kind of drop off, that'd kind of be like the soft deadline, and kind of like what Natalie said, if enough people put the checkpoint spots in the Dropbox, you could just do like a soft check over and say you need to do fixes.
I'll have to think about that because that worked. Now I forgot to collect your checkpoint worksheet. This is the one class I forgot. I didn't collect it from you. I let you go on accident. Remember?
Yeah, we did 100 on that.
I'm going to give you the same thing you get on the main one.
Oh no.
And I already had to give somebody like an 80% because their final project was an 80%. So on the checkpoint, I didn't collect 80%.
Oh no.
Okay. So do you think now in terms of next semester, do you think you can use this system here on your own?
Yes.
And then if I work with some of the other professors to implement this kind of stuff, it would be helpful.
Very helpful.
And then as teachers, you'll work with your principals so that this becomes like your work there can be visual. Because I know like a lot of teachers, the job just never ends.
I feel like if our professors saw it put out like this, especially with the width limit, it put them in our perspective with how stressed we are with all the due dates lined up for the big assignments.
Yeah, but it'll
In the same week.
they're not gonna give you extra. You're just gonna have to do it.
Yeah, but in our real job,
we can
have
actually
like there's team meetings and stuff that you get to collaborate with your grade. Usually it's just us working with these.
Yeah, because the principal does not want to have a school full of angry teachers. It's true, it's stressful to be a principal. Okay, I think we're making good sense of how to put this into perspective for the teacher education program, as well as maybe even going into teaching in a school.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing. So I have little kids. Okay, my daughter is 4 and my son is 7, and actually use Kanban at home for kids. And I'm telling you, it works like magic. The satisfaction that they get by just pulling the sticky note from one stage to the other stage, it is immense. And it creates intrinsic motivation, right? They have that satisfaction saying that, hey, Dad, I moved my work to done. Can you, or to check, can you please check my work, you know? And they are very excited to share. So I'm telling you, this works. Take it from me. And please try it and we will help you out. Anything you need, we will help you out.
Kumaresh, how old are your kids again?
4 and 7.
Okay, so see, you would be teaching his kids just in like your first year of teaching, because they'll be 5 and 8. Okay, so Kumaresh, we have a really nice place to live here in Tennessee. It's up in the mountains. We're only 6 hours of driving from DC, 4 from Atlanta, 4 from Nashville, 3.5 from Charlotte, and we have the best airport in the world. So if you need to relocate for like your job, we also have very high-speed fiber internet located even in the county. So you could definitely move here, and some of the people in this room could be the teachers of your children.
Oh yes, I was actually. See, I'm from Toronto, right? So Toronto is too cold for me. I was anyway planning to move to Charlotte. So
this is ideal. So what happens is people from Canada, they overreact and they move to Florida. And after about 8 years in Florida, they figure out that they want to live here in Tri-Cities, Tennessee. And so we have people here, like there is a guy who works at Ashley Academy and he's from Canada. And it's the same story. Yeah, you'll meet a lot of people. They all go to Florida and they think it's going to be great. And it's the opposite. It's just way too hot. And the only good months are like February. And so then they come back here halfway home. And it doesn't snow too much. It hardly snows at all. Like I get mad about it.
Me too.
But you should definitely look into it. Listen, we're in Johnson City, Tennessee, and you would love it here.
Love that. I mean, I would surely consider moving there.
Just 20 miles from here, there's a Kingsport Marriott Convention Center. So you can have like big meetings. And the airport is such an easy in and out. I mean, like I've been there. I have actually gotten to the airport when the plane was saying final boarding, and I made it through security and onto my plane and did not miss it. And one time I went through security and I had a pocket knife and I didn't have time to run to my car. And the front desk people let me keep it in one of the workers' cubbies. And I came back and got it a few days later.
Oh, wow.
So it is such a nice place to live.
Kingsport's amazing. We have Eastman Chemical Company here.
Yeah, Eastman Chemical headquarters is here. BioPure's Technology Corporation is here. Bell Helicopter, Domtar, Aerojet Technology.
You're surely making a case for me, yeah.
Place. So many exciting businesses. We have a business innovation incubation center here for EPSU. We have a med school. We have a pharmacy school, and we have a VA hospital. You should definitely try to move here.
Oh, wow. Yes. That goes in my backlog as a checklist, you know, for sure.
You're located right now.
I'll have to prioritize it higher.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Please.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kumaresh. You know, I know we are 3 minutes from the time box, and I know we have some pictures to take, and it was a great conversation. Maybe Dr. Ryan, I can always schedule another time for some of the artificial intelligence related stuff. But one thing I would like to show you all, I will try to work with Dr. Ryan to email you all, if possible, a free tool. So whatever Kumaresh showed, there is a tool that way in case these days everything is digitalized. So there are two things, right? Either you guys can use your wall space and start putting sticky notes in your wall space to physically move. We initially highly recommend that. But if not, you know, you can use like this Kanban boards. There are free tools like this. That way you all can collaborate among yourself, and you can use it in your iPads and laptops, and everybody can see. For example, if I want to see, hey, show me only my stuff, I can click on it. It will just show me my stuff. Or the expedited dates, the swim lanes, what Kumaresh mentioned. Let's say, hey, show me everything which is blocked. Okay, just click on it. It just shows the things which are having like blockers. So you guys can use these tools very visually. And I think I have a few free tools in my mind, what I will email Dr. Ryan, and then you all can test it out. But always you can use like, like painter's tape and set those things in the walls and use sticky notes to move around visually till you're getting familiarized. Yeah. So I know I know we are stop off there. Go ahead, Dr. Ryan.
I was just saying that I use something called Trello. Me and my wife, we keep a list of things out there. So it's very, very useful. Go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just saying that's all I have to. I was not trying to interrupt. I thought yeah.
Absolutely. Then maybe one last thing in 1 more minute, I'll just show you what I can next time maybe show you all. Something that I did, right? I'll just show you just one slider on what I can do next is, right? See, when I was doing my PhD, right, I was pretty much doing a full-time job, having kids, multiple things going on. And at one point, I started using digital systems to make my job much better and easier. And that's how I got fascinated into AI ML. And, actually, and I'm sure you are many people, I can show you live experiments of what I'm doing and how I'm using digital systems to prioritize my time. And I can show you some live examples next time. But I just want to tell you that, these days, jumping on the bandwagon of AI ML is a big deal. And, by the time, I think in 2-3 years, this will just be like normal, like water, like nobody talks about internet anymore. It was a big thing at some point. But again, there are a lot of things to consider. So I will show you live demos of how, basically, I'll tell you a small story, right? I watched this movie Click. Anybody watch this movie Click?
Yes.
Man, it was a weird movie. I watched that movie. It started funny. It turned out to be pretty serious. After that, I started recording myself. You know, my wife almost thought I went nuts. I was doing ergonomic study on myself. I put a camera and I was recording my activities. I was shocked that I was doing the same thing every day. And it was so predictable. And I kind of digitalized my systems, and I found out my car knows exactly what time to pick up my daughter, more than I remember. And my wife knows the geographic coordinates where I stand anytime. And it's becoming pretty cool. I'm at a point where initially I was very reluctant to, I'm sure we all say, hey, when you send data, don't send it. And we're all very conservative in many angles. But these days, sometimes technology is in play. And I want to show you some cool things to consider for using data, because everything is just a bunch of data, right? I want to say everything is just quantified, and it's not addictive. It's not addictive, it is additive. And I want to show this use case later of some of the cool experiments. But I know it'll be a top of the hour. I want to pause here. And again, you are all welcome. I'll share my information and Kumaresh's information with to Dr. Ryan. We'll give you, and you can feel free to connect us if you have career advice that you like to get. Anything, if you want to do internships with us, write papers for your any opportunities that you want to do papers in your project work, I'll be the most happiest person to help mentor along with Kumaresh like that. Kumaresh is one of our best thought leaders and trainers that we have. In case you want to set it up for your departments or stuff, we'll be the happiest person to do that. So I would like to, again, formally end this by thanking Kumaresh for doing that, and thanking a lot Dr. Ryan for providing this opportunity. Thank you all for being very patient and listening to us, and thanking the Tennessee State University for hosting us. But again, over to you, Dr. Ryan.
Right. Well, thank you. We're going to give you a round of applause. We greatly appreciate your time and expertise and way to give us things to think about. So we'll take a photo with you. What I'll do is everybody in here shut off your, disconnect from the Zoom meeting, so that when on the screen will just be the three of them. So Prabha, did you introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah.
My name is Prabha. I'm working with IBC as a business operation owner. So I'm helping with all this session in and out, and with IBC, with all the clients and tool partners.
She's pretty much who keeps all of us on spot and track. Thank you so much, Prabha.